Over the decades, India and Nepal have been more than just neighbors. Bound together by historical, social, religious and cultural similarities, they have been the closest of friends and allies.
We deeply value our civilizational, cultural and friendly relations with Nepal, and our multifaceted bilateral partnership has expanded and diversified in recent years.
Be it the open border between the two nations or the pillar of India's security for decades, the Gurkha regiments. The two countries have shared the deepest military relationship possible. No two armies are as closely interlinked as those of India and Nepal. But today, a cold Himalayan breeze is blowing over the once celebrated special relationship.
हामी हाम्रो भूमि खाली लिम्पियाधुरा लिपुलेक कालापानी अहिलेको विवादको विषय त्यो हो जो भूगोल नै सर्लक्कै कालापानीमा भारतीय फौज बसेर
What could be the reason for this distrust? What led to this alienation? Why is the distance increasing between India and Nepal?
Hello and welcome to our special in-depth show where we are looking at two countries that have had a special relationship for decades but now seem to be drifting apart. That's right, while all the focus has been on China in recent weeks, the fact is India and Nepal's relationship that is rooted in history and tradition is being pushed to the brink. A relationship that has seen its fair share of highs and lows in recent times. It's a relationship that severely hit a new low on the 18th of June when Nepal completed the process of amending its constitution and redrawing its political map by incorporating 3 disputed areas with India. And now Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli is accusing India of hatching a conspiracy to topple his government. The tension is far from easing. What lies at the genesis of the India-Nepal conflict? That's at the heart of In-Depth. Let's take a look at this special report.
Tension between the once cordial neighbors is at its peak. Nepal Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, India, alleging that India is hatching a conspiracy to topple his government. Oli claimed that meetings were underway to remove him at a hotel in Kathmandu and an embassy is also active in it, he said. This comes after a fresh political turmoil unfolded in the Himalayan nation, with the ruling Nepal Communist Party seeking Oli's resignation. On June 13th, the lower house of Nepal's parliament had unanimously passed the second constitution amendment, which gave constitutional status to the new map of the country, including the disputed Limpiadhura Kalapani Lipulek region that is in the Indian state of Uttarakhand. The bill was signed by Nepal President Vidya Devi Bhandari on June 18. India responded to the development, reiterating that such artificial enlargement of claims was not based on historical fact or evidence. Meanwhile, amid growing tension, traders in West Bengal have threatened to halt business with Nepal.
हालात सही नहीं होगा तो हम लोग कैसे बिजनेस करेंगे? नेपाल को पहले अपना हालात सही करना पड़ेगा, वो मैप उसको सही करना पड़ेगा, उसका बाद में करेंगे. हम लोग अपना सरकार के साथ है.
The row began on 8th of May after India inaugurated in Uttarakhand the new 80-kilometer road to Lipulekh on the border with Tibet in China. Soon after, Nepal claimed that a section of the road belonged to it and the matter was raised in the Nepal parliament, leading finally to the constitution being amended to reflect Nepal's territorial claim.
Now, this current cartographic war, as it is sometimes called, between India and Nepal has seen the two countries dispute certain areas which India claims are very much part of its own territory. Remember also, these are areas through which India has been doing road building. The fact is that the two countries find themselves today at the midst of find themselves on the crossroads. Two countries where politics seems to be overtaking and hijacking foreign policy. Take a look.
Nepal is an important barrier between India and China. Landlocked, this tiny and only Hindu country has been a playground for both its giant neighbors. But things changed, and Nepal has been trying to build its own identity away from the two for more than a decade now.
नेपाल के आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री और मेरे भाई साहब आदरणीय कोहली जी स्वयं काठमांडू से यहां आए, मेरा स्वागत सम्मान किया और माता जानकी के दर्शन के लिए उत्तम प्रबंध किया। मैं नेपाल सरकार का, राज्य सरकार का, नगर सरकार का और स्वयं आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का अंतःकरण पूर्वक आभार मानता हूं।
Rarely do a state head follow up with a visit within a month of his counterpart's tour of his or her country. Immediately after taking charge, KP Oli visited India in April. He also invited Narendra Modi to visit Janakpur, Muktinath or Mushtang and Kathmandu. Narendra Modi's first foreign visit after being sworn in as Prime Minister of India was to Nepal to meet then Prime Minister Sushil Koirala. Koirala broke protocol to meet Modi at Kathmandu airport, setting the tone for India-Nepal relations. The twin earthquakes of 25th April and 12th May 2015 caused havoc in Nepal, killing more than 9,000 people. India stepped in with disaster response teams, dispatched 43 tons of relief material and pressed into action 17 aircraft. Then came the tensions in relations as Nepal was plunged into a political crisis, with the Madhesis staging protests after being ignored in the new constitution. The two-week blockade of Indian supplies to Nepal in September 2015 soured ties as Kathmandu blamed New Delhi for being complicit in supporting the Madhesis. Nepal cancelled its president's visit to India in a show of protest. In an indication of change in focus, Nepal became signatory to China's Belt and Road Initiative.
China would always advise Nepal that, whatever the relationship may be at a given time with India, between Nepal and India, China cannot substitute for India because geography is something you can't wish it away. Even Chinese exports to Nepal, they told Nepal, would have to go through Haldia and Calcutta. But after Xi Jinping is coming to power there, building that Lhasa railway and the railway extending up to almost up to the border of Nepal, and the proposal to extend it to Kathmandu, all that has changed, appears to have changed. They think that they can also, Chinese can match us there, despite the ancient historical, religious, cultural, all these ties with Nepal, that India has. Despite that, of the unique ties, they think they can match India.
the unofficial blockade of 2015 remains a sore wound between the two. Both the nations need each other to survive and to maintain geopolitical balance in the region.
And joining me now is one of the most respected voices from Kathmandu. I'm joined by Kanak Mani Dixit, editor of Himal magazine. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Dixit. The big question, of course, in India is a sense of concern over just what happened that has made the government in Nepal turn belligerently anti-India, it appears. Is this domestic politics influencing foreign policy, or is there something else?
Well, Rajdeep, one reason that is not generally noticed in New Delhi is that this crisis has been brewing for a long time. And unbeknownst to much of the intelligentsia in India, Nepal has had a claim on the Limpiadhura area historically. And since the 1980s, there has been agreement that this is a disputed territory, Kalapani and Limpiadhura. It came to a boil in 2015 when Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi agreed on using the Limpiadhura, the Lipu Lake Pass for pilgrimage and for trade, in which Nepal protested on both sides to both capitals. But more recently, when a map was published following the bifurcation of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, in which, again, the Nepali territory was what the territory Nepal considers its own, was included within Indian territory. That led to an issue. Then finally, what happens is that on 8 May, there is an inauguration of the road to Lipu Lake, which is firmly a disputed territory between Nepal and India. That led to a blow-up in Nepal. Nepal started putting together a map, which was actually ready in January. But Nepal has been waiting for quite a few years for talks on this, especially since Jayashankar, the foreign minister of India, visited August last, 2019, and they agreed that the foreign secretaries would look at this matter, among others. Instead, India taking unilateral action is how these things have taken off. Whereas seen from a New Delhi perspective, it seems as if it has blown up just right now. So that is just the history to it.
Sure, but you know, Mr. Dixit, the Indian view, in a way, is that Prime Minister Oli has been looking or itching to get into a confrontation with India because it bolsters his domestic image, his domestic constituency within his own party, possibly beyond that, and his growing proximity to China. How true is that?
Okay, the proximity to China, firstly, historically, Nepal has been economically closely linked to Tibet, which is now part of China, number one. Number two is the most recent tilt towards China began in 2015 when the blockade, which had not been pinned on the Madhesi citizens of Nepal, it was a blockade by India conducted on Nepal, and therefore there was this tilt. Now, coming to your question, as of now, yes, Mr. Oli has been weakened politically, and in a way, a lifeline has been thrown to him. But let us add just one more point. The point is that the map that is in the middle of this controversy, the new Nepali map that shows the Limpiadhura triangle as part of India, that map was prepared in January and ready. Mr. Oli on Nepal's side kept waiting for the talks to happen until political exigencies in Nepal ensured that by mid-May he had to push it through. And in June, it was actually adopted. So from January till June, Nepal did want talks. The information we get, the news we get out of Delhi is that it is Nepal that has been prevaricating. But from what I know, the talks that should have happened, it was a delay on the part of New Delhi.
So are you saying, therefore, Kanak Mani Dixit, that this hasn't happened overnight? This has been building up for a while. Nepal has been very keen, Kanak, that in some way there be a dialogue on this issue. And you're saying New Delhi held back. Because
I would say
because there seem to be two very contrasting narratives, which is perhaps part of the mistrust. Nepal seems to have a very different narrative. New Delhi seems to believe that this is all part of a larger game plan that perhaps involves opening another front by the Chinese to continue to, in a way, keep India-Nepal relations on the brink.
Indeed. I think that there is a narrative, and I would like to think, Rajdeep, that I am not only presenting a quote-unquote Nepali perspective, and indeed there is a need for sober minds to come together and discuss this thing through. But let me make 2 points. One is Nepal has indeed been continuously, since the time of I.K. Gujral, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, right down to today with Sushil Koirala on the Nepal side, Mr. Oli, talking to Mr. Modi, Sushma Swaraj talking to Mahendra Bahadur Pandey. There has been enough discussion that there is a problem in the northwestern part of Nepal, where there is territory claimed by Nepal. Now, the fact that New Delhi does not know about this doesn't mean that Nepal has not been trying quiet diplomacy.
What's the second
question that people keep asking me, just to put this point in finally, the question that I keep getting asked is, how come Nepal has accepted all this till now? Well, Nepal has not accepted till now, and indeed, because it is the weaker country, it has been trying quiet diplomacy. And as far as China is concerned, China is more active in Nepal today than in the past. But I can tell you that Nepal will certainly not allow the kind of interventionism that India has enacted on Nepal in the past. If China tries to do the same, I will guarantee you Nepali civil society and the political class will not allow that either. This is my belief.
I have only 30 seconds and I want to ask you this. How do you therefore see the future of Indo-Nepal relation? Do you see a fundamental reset?
I don't think we should talk about reset. I think we should go back to where we were. And therefore, there should be a complete halt to all escalatory activities, including statements from the Nepali Prime Minister and escalatory activities on the Indian side. India could respond by stopping work on that road to Lipulekh, and the Nepali Prime Minister could respond graciously by not raising the ante.
Okay. Kanakmani Dikshit, as always, a voice of wisdom and sanity from Kathmandu. Appreciate your joining us and giving us a context to all that's been happening between New Delhi and Kathmandu in recent weeks. Thanks very much. Let's take a break. When we return, Nepal's relationship with India, which is often accused of acting as the big brother to the smaller neighbor. What changed in the last few years that led to Nepal drifting away? Is there a China angle? Welcome back to In Depth. Now, Indo-Nepal relations have gone through a paradigm shift in recent years. Many experts believe that this tension has been building up because there is now a third player in the equation. Is China now increasingly looking at Nepal as a way to encircle India? Take a look.
हिजोको प्रसङ्गमा म अलिकति के राख्न चाहन्छु भने
On 13th of June, Nepal's lower house of parliament unanimously approved a constitutional amendment. It legalized a new territorial map, which showed the areas of Kalapani, Limpiadhura and Lipulekh within its borders, areas which till now were claimed by India.
India and Nepal share almost 1,800 kilometers of the border, which has been an open border since 1950. And the cross-border movement of people and trade and goods and capital has benefited both the countries for all these years. Further, I think it's important to note that 97% of the border issues, mapping issues between India and Nepal have been resolved, and only 3% of the border yet remained to be resolved.
And it is this 3% that has given a fresh stir to rivalries between the Himalayan nation and its behemoth southern neighbor.
2015, Nepal adopted a new constitution without paying much heed to the concerns of India regarding their constitution being more inclusive for their own people. In recent weeks, matters have taken a tailspin.
The past few years saw Nepal drift away from India's influence and instead drift towards China gradually. And the incidents of 2015 played a significant role in this shift. Nepal saw violent protests erupt in 2015 when the ethnic Madhesi community revolted, demanding more rights and blocked goods coming in from India. The 5-month blockade crippled life in Nepal, giving rise to anti-India sentiments in the country, as many believed it was India that was responsible for the economic blockade. Meanwhile, China eased in with investments for Nepal, pumped in aids and loans, inching closer to the political heads of the Himalayan nation. Over the years, China claimed it considers Nepal a key partner in the neighborhood, and the backing from China has seen a more assertive Nepal in recent times. With friction flaring up between India and China, many former diplomats have begun urging Delhi to begin talks with Kathmandu.
It is extremely important that we in fact intensify and deepen our links with the political class in Nepal, with the political leaders in Nepal, and see that the two countries need to come together. There is a lot of talk that the relations between India and Nepal need a branch and root relook. I completely agree with that.
Add to this the domestic political rumblings within Nepal that has been fueled by the latest cartographic row. Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli claiming India was trying to topple his government, but his opposition says that he is using the international skirmish to mask his failures.
That's it on this in-depth special. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.